Can you guys hear us at all?
I can hear you, Darren.
Okay, so those on the Zoom call can hear me.
Well,
Can anyone in the room hear us?
I think so. Mike, can you push your mic? Mike Sparrow, can you push your mic and see if, can you hear Darren?
I don't want to do that.
Can you hear Darren?
Yes, great.
Yeah, Daniel will just be a couple minutes late, Ron. So if you could just wait minutes.
So we just wait? Janice is gone.
Yeah, let me just check.
You're just like a genie in a bottle. You just disappear. And then you
I know.
Janice in a bottle. Yeah.
Oh.
Most meetings, I don't need a microphone.
Yeah. But people up there can't hear a thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is fun.
Darren, CJ, and John, can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah,
Sure
we can
can.
hear you. We can hear you great.
I'm back. Yeah, you can, you're good to start now, Ron. He'll come in a minute.
Okay. I think we all know each other here. Do we need a quick round of intros or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So
Yeah.
let's start down here at this corner.
So I'm Sarah Mitchell. I am the representing Cherry Creek.
Excuse me, Ron, can you have them use their mics when they're speaking, or we won't be able to hear them over Zoom?
The little red light comes on.
And then you'll have to shut it off when you're done talking.
Hi, sorry about that. I'm Sarah
all right.
Mitchell. I'm the rep for the advisory committee for Cherry Creek.
Susan Rock for Beaver Creek.
Colin Clement for Beaver Creek.
Nancy Harvey, Sprout Lake, replacing the late Linda Bowers.
Brandy Lauder, elected chief, Pechisic First Nation.
Mike Sparrow, Area F, Cherry Creek.
Debbie Haggard, City of Port Alberni.
And Ron Paulson, I'm an appointee by the city of Port Alberni and chair of this fine committee. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the meeting, on June the 7th, Linda Bowers tragically passed away while playing pickleball. It's no surprise that with Linda's spirit and zest for life, she was participating in one of her favorite pastimes, which is pickleball. When she passed away, our committee has lost a devoted teammate and Aquatics Center supporter. Linda was very active in the Alberni Valley, supporting many causes, and she was what I would term a true community advocate. I would ask our group and the people that are joining us if we could just take a moment of silence to reflect on the loss of one of our committee members. Just take a moment of silence and reflection. Thank you. Linda, you will be missed. Thank you, gang. Now on to the regular agenda. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to recognize that we are meeting on the unceded territory of the Hoopachesit and Sishak First Nations. And thank you for your indulgence. We've done introductions already, so and this particular meeting is being live streamed to YouTube on the Regional District website. So anybody who is joining us That information is on the regional district site. We'll move on to item number 2, which is approval of the agenda. Are there any late items for the agenda from anybody? Could I have a motion for approval of the agenda then? All in favor? Sure that I saw the minutes from the last meeting. Did we see the minutes from the last meeting?
No, this is the first one.
Yeah, okay. There are no minutes for adoption. There are no petitions, delegations, and presentations. Is there any correspondence for action that we know of? Oh, pretty quiet in here.
Cookies, yeah.
Yeah, no sugar going. There are no requests for decisions. So we're going to go right to reports. And 7A is the item and open house and public survey engagement results. I'm going to turn it over to HCMA, Architecture and Design, and they will lead us through the next stage of our meeting.
Great, thank you. We're glad to join you virtually here today. When I was in the meeting, I hated that little microphone in front of me, but now I guess I'm appreciative of it. So thank you everyone for being there, and we're excited to kind of walk through a number of different pieces here today, some reporting out, and then some other agenda items further on. As a consultant group, we also want to express our condolences for Linda, and are grateful for her and her contributions that she provided so far in this project, and are thinking of her and her family. So yeah, we want to spend first off to walk through a report out on what we've heard from the community to date, and so far through public surveys and also open houses. And we've given you kind of a rough preliminary introduction to those at our last advisory committee meeting when we had kind of interim results. And so we'll just reference those and share what the final results were, and then move on. So I'll pass it over to John to walk through those.
Hey, everyone. Can everyone see my screen? Yes, people in the room?
Yes.
Great. Just get, okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to organize my Zoom screen here. Wouldn't be the start of a meeting without a technical glitch, but it's good to see you all from here. So yeah, we've had now 2 open houses and the first survey has closed. So we'll review the results of the open house and the survey today. So if we begin with the open house, we'll begin with a summary of the open houses held last month in Port Alberni and Cherry Creek. There was productive conversation and engagement with those who attended at both locations, and thanks to all of you who were able to attend as well. So how many people attended and where did they come from? The pins placed on the map showed 10 people total attending the Cherry Creek location and 23 at Port Alberni from a variety of locations, all listed there. Into the selection boards, if you recall. So the concealed selection boards seem to work quite well. The results for what aquatic activities are most important showed leisure and personal fitness tied in first place, followed by skill development and health and benefits, as well as competitive sport and training and socializing a little bit lower. And so when we compare these results to the survey, which we'll get into a little bit later, we see a lot of consistency between the 2 forms of engagement. Leisure and recreational swimming are in the top spot for both survey and open house. And the only difference in the is that the survey shows skill development ranking higher than personal and group fitness. And this order is flipped in the open house results. But you can also see that skill development is only behind by 1 token in the open house. So a high level of importance for skill development and the overall engagement. It's really good to see this level of consistency between the open house and the survey as well. So the second selection board for non-aquatic activities, the results show spaces where people can play sports for fun in the top spot, followed by spaces for kids to play. These by far had the most tokens for these 2 categories. There are a few ties in this one as well. So group gathering and training for competitive sports, and host attend an event and space to sit, relax, and spectate. So then if we also compare these to the survey results, we also see some consistency, a few differences here, but spaces for kids to play is in the top spot in the survey, and spaces where people can play sports for fun is number 2. However, the same 4 activities are listed in the top 4 spots in both the survey and open house. So we're seeing a good overall consistency for what people are saying. The most important activities and spaces. So spaces for kids to play, spaces where people can play sports for fun, and spaces for group gathering and activities. Spaces where people can train for competitive sports also all coming in is ranking quite important. So we included also is there anything else you want to tell us board? And sort of to capture the open-ended comments might not come anywhere else. So we had lots of comments around increasing the pool operating hours and increasing access to programming such as swimming lessons, which we'll also see later in the survey summary as well. Comments indicate generally a high level of support, but some feelings still that the process could be taking too long. There were some concerns around the cost of the project expressed, and some comments and discussion around the repurposing of the existing pool building if a new one is built. So those were the boards. Then we also had some discussions at the tables with some topics that were based around the survey, and we had some productive conversations. So let's have a look at what we heard from those. So there were 5 discussion topics, beginning with what works and what does not work at Echo Pool. So we heard that the fitness space, sauna, and hot tub and location are seen as positive elements, as well as some comments around the cost being reasonable. For what could be improved, we heard increasing operating hours, increased aquatic leisure space and amenities. People expressed a dislike for the lack of visibility between the top space and the sauna area and the hot tub. And there were a few comments about the showers. Was someone wanting to jump in there? Nope. Okay, I will carry on.
Yet.
Sorry, what was that, Ron?
No hands up here. Yeah.
No hands up here. Okay, just let me know if there are. And so a few comments about the showers that they could use some modernization. So moving to the next topic, a new aquatic center. So this topic was intended to gauge the general support for a new aquatic center. And we found there to be a generally high level of support amongst those who attended, with people indicating a new facility they felt was necessary and would provide many benefits, such as increased health, well-being, and a sense of pride. This is also consistent with the high level of support that we received through the survey, which you can see in the pie chart, and we'll touch on a little bit later on, but over 88% of respondents noting that they're interested in the possibility of a new aquatic facility. There were some concerns noted about potential cost of the project and possible tax increases, uncertainty for how it would be funded. And we'll hear a little bit more about that as we move on as well. The next topic was a new aquatic center, aquatic amenities. So there was lots of conversation around potential aquatic amenities. Generally, responses fell into these 6 ranked categories, which are quite similar if you think back a few slides to what we heard about aquatic priorities, with leisure, skill development, personal and group fitness. For leisure, there was importance of space for children, families, and seniors noted. The most common amenities discussed were lazy river, larger top pool, zero depth entry, slide, shallow water for walking, diving, and climbing also came up a few times. Then focus on skill development. Swimming lessons was important. Aquatic fitness, noting a shallow areas for a range of activities and more lanes. Openness, visibility throughout the space, natural light, and with an indoor-outdoor connection. A desire for a high level of accessibility. And there was also some discussion around the design of the building being reflective of the sort of true nature of the community. So new aquatic center, non-aquatic amenities. There seemed to be an acknowledgement during the conversation that including some non-aquatic space would be a benefit to the community, but the pool was the main focus and priority. So that being said, the responses generally fell into these ranked categories as well. So desire for fitness space to be larger with more equipment, an interest in flexible space for parties, etc. Gathering space came up several times. The idea of a social hub with spaces for both youth and seniors, sort of all age ranges, rehabilitation, physio, massage, and some interest in incorporating a food component, coffee or juice bar came up. So then the next topic was location. And at the open house, we heard generally a high level of support for the existing area around Echo Center due to its proximity to other recreational amenities and being easily accessible. So again, if we compare that to the survey, we heard at the open house, the responses from the survey we see a lot of consistency when we compare these. If we go to the next slide here, we're seeing the survey telling us that the most important criteria or drivers are close to existing and recreational amenities, accessible by public transit, and close to schools, all of which Echo Center meets all of these criteria, and so probably likely why there was so much support for it at the open house. So I hope I didn't go over those too quickly for anyone. I was hoping to go into the public survey summary next. I could just kind of go through everything if that works. And then if there's any questions, comments, we could discuss after. But does anyone have anything that they wanted to, any questions or comments regarding the open house?
The only comment that I would have to the rest of the group is I was a little bit disappointed at the numbers that did or didn't turn out. For a facility like this, it's important to the community. I don't know what kept people away, but I'd hoped there'd be 2 or 3 times the number, but we'll have more public sessions, I'm sure. And as we build along this process, I'm sure there'll be greater interest and people will show, but it is an opportunity for people to speak and be heard. And I guess we need to do some more public meetings.
Thanks, Ron. Yeah, the numbers were not as high as I think everyone hoped at both locations, but we did have some productive conversations, and we had a really great turnout for the survey. So if we look at the survey numbers, 1,250 responses, which is really great level of engagement. Survey closed June 15th. So let's look at what we're hearing through the responses. There's a fair amount of content here, so I'll try not to go too quickly, but let me know if anyone in the group has questions. So for the age range, we saw a range from 13 to 65 years, with the highest category being the 35 to 48-year-old range, followed by 49 to 64 years old. A pretty diverse group. Communities where participants came from, we see the majority coming from Port Alberni, followed by Beaver Creek, Cherry Creek, Sprout Lake, and so on. The bracketed numbers indicate the number of respondents from each category. So you can kind of see the order of magnitude there. So we also include this question. I am a member of. The majority of respondents preferred not to answer or to choose I prefer not to answer. Then also other was the second largest category. And this was made up mostly of people who were identifying as non-Indigenous, but we also see 9 First Nation groups included here in this category, as well as 4 additional noted between spots 3 to 6. So as noted in the open house summary, there was a high level of support for the possibility of a new aquatic facility, with over 88% responding yes, 6% as it depends, and just over 5% saying no, they were not interested. And you can see what these percentages mean in actual numbers listed out 1, 2, 3 there, how it breaks down. So to find out the reasons why people responded yes, no, or it depends, we asked them to explain. So the responses for each fell into several categories. I'll just touch a few here, but for those that answered yes, many people felt that the existing facility is outdated, no longer meets the needs of the community, as well as it lacks elements of fun and excitement. There were also many people who noted that an aquatic center is an important component of any community and brings increased health and well-being. For those that answered it depends, the most common responses were related to the cost and potential tax increases. There were also many people who said it depends on if the new facility could be properly staffed, and some wanting to know what would be included in the facility first. And for those that said no, the most common reasons related to the cost and concern for unaffordability for the community. There were also some people who said that they just wouldn't use it. So if we look at the number of people who are visiting the Echo Aquatic Center in the past 5 years, the majority of people had 80%, 20% said they had not. So if we look a little bit closer for frequency of use, there's quite a spread. The majority of respondents noted that they use the pool more than 2 times per month if you combine those categories. Some noted they use it only a few times a year. And there was a group within the other category that noted infrequent hours and cancellations do limit their ability to go as often as they would like. So then just gauging who people are going with, are they going in groups or are they going by themselves? The majority of respondents reported going with their families, but a significant number of people also reported going by themselves. So pretty good range. With my kids and other tied in 3rd place, with the least number of people reported going in a club or a group. So what are people using at the Echo Pool currently? So from this question, we heard that there was an emphasis on the use of the main leisure and lap tanks, followed by the hot tub, sauna, top pool, spectating, and water slide, which shows us that there appears to be a focus on the leisure amenities at the existing facility. Then we wanted to gauge what periodically might prevent people from using the Echo Aquatic Center. And so limited operating hours and inadequate staffing levels were noted as the most common reasons, followed by lack of capacity in the leisure pool, pool temperature issues, lack of capacity in the lap pool, and inadequate fitness and training spaces. Some within the other category include not enough access to swimming lessons and other out-of-town pools just being more appealing. So then we also wanted to know what keeps people from using the Echo Pool. So if there's something that typically keeps you from, or periodically keeps you from using it, what makes you not use it at all? And so again, limited operating hours. we see is fully preventing people from using the pool, and as well as causing people to use it less frequently, as we saw in the last question. Also, a lack of capacity in the leisure pool is the second most common reason, followed by inadequate fitness space and inadequate staffing levels. And there were some who felt that there were water quality issues, and then some who said they just don't use it. So is there an amenity missing from the Aquatic Center that would increase your use of the existing pool? Responses generally fell into these 5 ranked categories. The top 5 amenities that people noted most frequently were water slide, wave pool, lazy river, larger gym with a better selection of equipment, and a larger hot tub. The second most common response was people just saying, no, there's not an amenity that would increase my use of the pool. A third was better space dedicated for kids with fun features, 4, increased hours of operation, and number 5, warmer pool temperatures. So begin to see some common themes running through here. And so we wanted to know if people were traveling out of the community to use other facilities. And yes, 70% of participants said that they traveled to a different community to use their aquatic center over Echo. The majority of people said that they were visiting the Nanaimo Aquatic Center, then followed by Qualicum, Courtney Comox, and there's others as well. And most common reason people reported using these facilities was that the Echo Center is just outdated, lacks fun amenities, and is not open often enough. Many people noted that the other facilities they visited are more modern and generally just provide a better overall experience with better amenities for kids and families. The wave pool in Nanaimo came up many times as a draw to travel to that community. So questions around a new facility, what would people value opportunities for? And this is specific to aquatics. Was there a hand up in the boardroom? Nope.
No, you're off the hook still. Oh, go ahead, Mike. It's a weird question, but one of the reasons we tried going to the pool the last couple of years with our grandson, and we got turned away twice because we didn't have our COVID vaccine card on us. They rejected us from going in. Depending who was on the counter when we went in, most of them let us go in, but occasionally there's one person there said, give me your COVID vaccine update card, you can't go in the pool. Is that still a policy, or is that one of the questions going on, and how's that going to work in the future? I can't comment if that's still a policy. I think that's something best answered by Willa Thorpe. And Willa's not with us today, but I'm sure we can find out that answer for sure. I noticed that most hospitals and stuff, was in hospital in Victoria, they don't mask up anymore, even down in the hospital. So I just don't know where that COVID prevention thing is at the moment. You would think in a chlorine environment, it might be pretty sterile, but we can find that answer for you.
So yeah, questions around a new facility and what would people value opportunities for as related to aquatics. We see that swimming for fun and swimming for exercise are the most frequently noted. Using the hot tub, taking swimming lessons, rehabilitation and therapy, sauna, steam room are also noted as higher on the list of importance. Swimming competitively was ranked second to last, though just to note there's still 653 people who said they valued that. So we touched on this a little bit earlier when discussing the open house, but the ranking of importance of aquatic activities. So we see leisure and recreational swimming, skill development, personal and group fitness. So we're beginning to see there's a focus on leisure and recreational swimming in the top 3 positions here. And we're seeing some consistency again between the open house and the survey. If non-aquatic recreation programs could be considered as part of a future community facility, I would value space for people too. So moving away from aquatics for a minute, the top 4 most popular responses were enjoy sport for recreation, do group activities, including birthday parties and other private functions, take part in physiotherapy and other forms of healing, and spaces for people to play. So we're seeing a desire for some sport-focused, flexible, and play spaces in non-aquatics. So we also touched on this question earlier when we were discussing the open house selection boards for ranking the importance of non-aquatic activities. Here we're beginning to hear that the focus appears to be on play spaces, sport spaces, group activity spaces, and competitive sport and training, as mentioned in the last slide. So seeing consistency between these last 2 questions. The top 3 things I think are needed to make a community aquatic facility great. So the top things on people's minds fell into these 5 categories. So number 1, a desire for greater variety of amenities with enough activity options for all ages and abilities. And there were a lot of responses related to making it just a fun place, lots of fun things to do. Number 2, many people noted that dedicated spaces for kids and families would be beneficial. And number 3, as we've heard in other questions, increased hours for operation and greater access to aquatic programs is an important item. Number 4, comments relating to the general quality of space, such as more of it, accessible and inclusive with natural light and good visibility were all noted. And then cost as well, affordable to the community and construction, operation, and user fees. So then we also asked what questions should we also be asking the community about a new potential aquatic facility, and they generally fell into these 3. The most we heard was how much is the community willing to spend, and how large of a tax increase are you willing to accept? Who should pay for it? And there were quite a few comments about location. Where should it be located? And what amenities and features would you like to see in a new facility, as well as should it be more than just a pool, or should it include recreation spaces? So we also touched on the location criteria briefly. And we're going to touch on this again when we get a little bit further into our meeting today about some of the locations, but just a reminder of the top noted you see here, 1 through 7. So close to existing recreational amenities, accessible by public transit, close to schools, education facilities, accessible by car, so on. So what aquatic focus are we hearing from the results of the open house and survey? The public engagement so far is indicating a desire for leisure and fun, skill development, family spaces, exercise, and wellness. And then if we look at the same for non-aquatic, what we're hearing activities and spaces, an importance of space for kids to play, spaces where people can play sports for fun, spaces for group gatherings and activities, and spaces where people can train for competitive sports, and where people can socialize. I think I might pass this over to Darren.
Yeah, I think just at the end of this, I think it's worth just revisiting what that means and what we're taking away from the information. And right after this slide, we'll give you a chance to comment on what you've heard so far. But, we introduced some of this stuff in our last meeting with you in terms of what we're seeing from preliminary results. And the good news is that it's not changing much. Like the open house and the last stretch of the survey confirmed a lot of these preliminary draft program that we're recommending to move forward with. And that's validating to see that. And so you would have seen the top portion of this already in the last meeting, but based on what we're hearing and the focus of a desire to that that there would be a 25-meter 6-lane lap tank, and the focus of that would be fun, exercise, group fitness, lane swimming, and also lessons. And the leisure pool would have a focus of, again, fun, spray features, lazy river, and lessons for younger aged individuals. And then hot pool, water slide, we had said last time we had a question mark on it last time, if you remember, and it's still a bit of a question mark, but we heard quite a bit about, coming together with your family, wanting to have fun and have those different features. And so we're including it in this list to explore. We recognize cold plunge is on the health and wellness side and is a rising trend. So that's on our list. We can talk about that as well. And then non-aquatic spaces, we heard, first and foremost, opportunity to play sports for fun and that play feature. And so we do have gymnasium on there as a potential for that. We heard fitness and training, so fitness space is on there, and then also group gathering and flexible spaces. So that would be the multipurpose room. So based on that feedback, we chose 3 different spaces, those last 3 in the list, the gymnasium, fitness space, and multipurpose rooms, to include in the list of options that could be included in this facility. And we'll talk later on about what that means and what that looks like in the facility. But this is how we're interpreting the feedback from the community and what that's kind of narrowing into, a draft list of amenities for the community to respond to. So I think, is that the last slide of the segment, John?
Yeah, that's right. So I think next up would be a discussion around location options.
Great. Well, let's pause here for a second and let's open it up to the floor to hear any comments from the results of the open house, the survey, and also our draft program that we're proposing. So if there was anything that stuck out or surprised anybody or any comments.
Any questions, any comments from the group? There's nobody. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, I think I'm just about, guess I'm surprised that the gymnasium's on there, because I'm wondering if people actually said gymnasium or gym, because often when I say gym, I actually mean like a workout room, whereas it's termed fitness space there. So that could possibly be skewed as a big gymnasium like the Alberni or the athletic hall. That's what anyways, thank you.
I kind of question that on there as well, and the fact that there are 3 gymnasiums. If it's in the multiplex area, there are 3 gymnasiums in that area, 2 at the high school and the athletic hall. So,
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I'm excited to get your feedback on that. We put it on the list more for the fact that it was play sports for fun, and so we saw that as more of an informal space, like in a multipurpose hall or a gymnasium where you can play sports for fun. And then the fitness and training was the fitness space. So yeah, happy to chat about whether this should stay on the list or fall off. It's for sure it's up for discussion, but I think that's why we put it on the list there.
I think the items on the list are it's like building a car with options. It's an option list, and I think as time goes on and we get into the fall, we'll find that some of these options are not affordable to include in the design, but I don't want to make that assumption today.
Yeah, and
Question from the floor?
Thank you. So could a gymnasium be considered as an outdoor space? Say like just a concrete outside gymnasium, like for basketball or floor hockey or that type of thing that's on the outside of the building. We did talk about activities where we could use both sides of the wall. So climbing wall, whatever, on the outside of the building. And I think that that might be able to be contained within a gymnasium type. Or whatever. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That would be a great way to provide that opportunity as an amenity for the community at a much less cost, and really just an exterior space that includes basketball hoops or other types of informal recreation activities in the landscape. That's a great idea. So certainly that could check that box in a different way. So.
Hi, thank you. I was also wondering, just in regards to the water slide, because I'm sure that that would be a cost. I certainly think a slide is needed, a really good, sturdy, nice slide. I'm just wondering if possibly communicating with the Indigenous bands who are planning on getting together and creating that new hotel that could potentially have a water slide. So we wouldn't need to do that. And put the cost there.
I have heard that the new does have a pool and a slide. I'm not sure if it's a water slide. I never asked. I'm allergic to chlorine, so I basically went there to teach my son how to swim, and I broke out in hives every time. So we spent a lot of time at the lake. But in the winter, he was in there. I dropped them off and they go. So I picked them up afterwards. So him and his 4 friends lived at the pool 3 times a week. So I find that it's needed. My son loves it. My granddaughter loves it. My daughter-in-law loves it. Most of our nation will bring the whole community there in a bus, you know, but yeah, I personally can barely sit in the parking lot without pills. But yeah, I know the hotel is proposing to put in a pool and a slide. I just don't know if it's a full water slide.
I don't think we could assume that they would open that to the public. The Microtel in Ladysmith does have a pool and water slide, but I think it's for guests. You know, in the off season, if I was an entrepreneur, I would open it up to the public, but it may not be available 12 months of the year if that's the case. But it is remember, it's a private enterprise, and the amenities are for the guests.
Well, good.
Another question, just in regards to it being stated 6-lane lap tank. I was potentially under the impression that it may be that we were looking at 8 lanes, and just with the comments made by people is that they were hoping for larger leisure and lengths. I'm wondering what that could look like. Thank you.
Yeah, good point. And I think you'll find in our next segment that we'll be talking about, we'll talk about the layering of different options on top of the tank. And so we're seeing that as kind of your baseline would be the 6-lane 25 meter. And then there's an option to add 2 more lanes to make it 8. There's options to add, increase the size of your leisure pool and things like that. And so we are trying to build a scalable version here so that the community can weigh in and provide feedback on how big or small this facility should be. And so, yeah, you'll see that in the next segment that we are trying to include that option to comment on.
Don't be shy out there, you guys. Go ahead. Could we get a jacket for Penny, please? I'm from, yeah. I'm from Edmonton. This is a hot July day outdoors in Edmonton.
I'd be voting for that. I'd be voting for the warmer pool.
Bring you some cookies as well, but the cherries are gonna fall, so I just keep the cookies for myself.
Oh, jeez. Are there any questions? Any more questions? we'll have lots of time for discussion, wholesome discussion as this project goes through. I'm sure we'll do lots of thinking about this in the summer, but as we get into the fall and stuff, and we'll get into, I'm sure, more of the nuts and bolts into the fall. So if there are no more questions, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Question would be around the gymnasium. So we do have, as you said, ones in the valley. Are there going to be any metrics as to what the current use of those facilities are? Because I'm often up at the athletic hall and it's not, the gyms are not being used. So I think there's opportunity to get metrics in the interim.
Yeah, you're probably right. Of the 3 gymnasiums up there, other than probably the summer, I know that the high school is basically unavailable. It's booked 24/7. The athletic hall, I don't know what their usage is in a 24-hour day, but yeah, a different kind of gym. But yeah, and Glenwood is program. There's other programs, seniors programs and stuff in there. But those are all things that we can discuss moving forward when we're talking about that option and the need in that area. Yeah, Daniel.
I think part of this is talking about the what ifs as well.
Yeah.
Right. So it's I would agree that you know the primary focus is really the pool, and then when we talked about additional facilities, we just wanted to be equipped for those. You know, what would that scenario look like? And I think as we're exploring those scenarios, we'll want to have hopefully a vision that can consider that. Right. So if not today. What happens if 20 years from now we say we do want the gymnasium? Do we contemplate that in the design, or are we back to sort of a different location, a different space as well? Which is okay, but I think part of this is wanting to be able to demonstrate to the community through the process that we're asking these questions as well, and through the process we have answers. Hopefully, knock on wood. I haven't seen the next part of this presentation there.
Once again, just remind everybody that this is kind of an overview of what a pool could look like. And none of these items have a check mark beside them. Like many of them are options. You can't have a pool without a tank, but yeah, it's kind of what the community decides as options. So yes, go ahead, Ryan.
I think I know with our community, we wanted one of the reasons we wanted Gill School, besides, you know, our burials there, was for that gym. So we can have drop-in gym time. That's probably what people are looking for. You have to rent the athletic hall. You have to take time and you have to get a group together. You got to get enough money to rent it. If you just built one or at least made space, like at the athletic center or at the athletic hall, and say, look, we're going to have a few set of drop-ins, see how this takes off going. We're just going to have drop-in basketball, or we're going to have drop-in floor hockey. You'll find people showing up on a Tuesday night or a Thursday night. And I think that's what they're hoping to look into, because I know a group of our community members are already trying just to get our gymnasium at Gill School just to go, we just want to have a drop-in night. We want all the kids to get in, play floor hockey or basketball or whatever they're into without having to rent a gym elsewhere.
Any other questions on the?
I'd like to add to that. So another layer on that is pickleball. If you put pickleball surface in there, you're going to have a competition then as to who's going to be on that court.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Daniel.
Sorry.
Mr. Pickleball.
It is. I think that is true. And I think if we were seriously exploring the gymnasium aspect, I think it would be worthy of just quantifying that and doing that extra work so that we'd be able to at least speak to which users. But I will echo that there are a lot of structured aspects to play. And I think it's a valid point to asking the question about those spaces that are unstructured and simply open for drop-in. I think it's a bit of a trademark of our current contemporary society that parents tend to drop off their kids for specific activities and pick them up afterwards. And we don't necessarily tell the kids to go somewhere and play and come back when the lights, the street lights are turned on. And so some aspect of having safe spaces that are equipped for drop-in instead of structure would probably likely attract a very different grouping of individuals. So I thought it was a good comment.
On that note, I guess why I'm on this feasibility study is for the sole purpose of a new swimming pool, knowing that we can repurpose the old building. And I would like to see either a pickleball court or an indoor skate park rather than a basketball court, because all the schools have gyms. You can't do pickleball there. So it would, anyways, yeah, thank you.
Any further comments? Any more questions on that? Could I have a motion to receive the report as presented? Mike, seconder. Deb, seconder, all in favor? Takes us to question period. There's nobody in the boardroom and there's nobody participating by Zoom. And are there any email responses that we're aware of? Janice?
We have received nothing.
Nothing. Okay. So at this point in time, I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting to the public as per the community charter sections. I-91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a regional district service that are at their preliminary stages, and that, in the view of the board, could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the regional district if they were held in public. Can I have a motion? Deb? Second? Randy, all in favor? And we will now move this